One.
Are you ready?
Are you ready? Are we gonna get in trouble for that?
Well, this isn't even a WWE show, really.
Right.
This episode will be focused mainly on AEW and Full Gear. We literally just got done watching it 20 minutes ago. And we'll go over a little bit what happened on Dynamite this past week because it all correlates with Full Gear anyway. So, we open with the tag team match between the Young Bucks and Santana and Santana and
Santino Morella.
Yeah. And Santana and Ortiz. Okay, my prediction for this match was that the Young Bucks win. Just because I think they need to win more since they already lost to Private Party and the Lucha Bros at All Out. So I felt like they needed to win more than Santana and Ortiz did right now anyways. But how did you like this match? I felt like it was good with a lot of good spots and...
Yeah, it was really good. So they did this thing where they kind of worked backwards a little bit, where the heel team couldn't get the tag, which was unique. And it didn't matter so much to the match, but it was just kind of... I don't know, after watching wrestling for a really long time, you get used to the same structure and format of matches. So to see something different was kind of like, oh, that's neat. A lot of athletes in that ring. A lot of fun selling. And 70-year-old men jumping around like a bunch of lunatics. So it had pretty much everything I need in a match.
Who did you think was going to win this match?
I was different from you. I was pretty sure that it was going to be Ortiz and Santana, only because I honestly think that in the future they're going with like their own little war games thing where they're doing the Inner Circle versus the Elite, and I kind of thought that was playing into it. But I get what you're saying, but I also think that the Bucks losing and not having such a fast start is kind of a story within itself, where if you're new to AEW, you're like, I was promised that this was one of the best tag teams in the world, and they've won one time.
Right. And like, so if you've never even watched the Young Bucks before,
well, you're still entertained by what they're doing. But how
are you convinced that they are the best if they've, if they keep losing and you're new to AEW and you've never heard of them, but the commentating is telling your audience, hey, this is the best tag team in the world, even though they've lost almost every match?
I think that's just a subtle secondary story that they're telling while they're doing this one.
It could be. But, okay. So you were right. Santana and Ortiz ended up winning the match. And there was a cool spot when Nick spit his gum at Santana. And then you called this. Jared predicted this. He was like, he's going to pick it up and start chewing it.
There was just something in his eyes.
Like, what gave you that hunch?
I don't know, man. He just glistened a little bit and was like, oh, I'm going to chew that shit.
So that was kind of badass.
Yeah, and another thing I want to bring up just before we get away from this match. They did a show on YouTube, the countdown. I think it was AEW Full Gear countdown. And the first promo that they did was for this tag team match. And Santana and Ortiz both cut really good, independent promos that showed their totally different styles, but at the same time showed you where they come from. So one of the things was they're walking in the subway screaming how they're different and they're proud to be different and that everybody should be proud to be different. And you can tell that when they filmed this, they just pushed play and started doing it because everybody else in the subway is just looking at the camera like, what the hell's going on?
Yeah.
So it was really cool to see that.
Oh, yeah. It wasn't overly produced.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
It looked like it might have taken, like that first take was it.
Yeah.
And it was like, all right, perfect. We got the reaction we wanted.
After the match, we see Sammy Guevara come down to the ramp to hug his boys. and he hands them a sock full of baseballs to continue to attack the Young Bucks. But then the Rock and Roll Express come in the ring and start beating up Santana, and Ricky Morton does a Canadian Destroyer and a freaking dive outside the ring. I loved every second of the aftermath of the match.
Throw it up, babies.
That was cool.
Yeah, it really was neat, and it was really cool to see Twitter blow up like right after it happened.
How old is he?
I'm not sure. I think when I looked on Twitter last, it was 119. I'm really not sure, but
probably in his 60s.
He's over 65. He should be collecting checks from the government right now, and not hitting leapfrog Canadian Destroyers. But if I could do it at his age, that mullet, he's like the male Snow White. Come get you some, baby.
All right, next we see Adam Page versus Pac, and to me, they've been building a really good feud on Dynamite. So this was one of the matches I was most excited for. Both guys are really impressive to me, and if I had to say, like, choose one male who has the best physique, not only in AEW, but the whole business, honestly, I feel like he has the best physique.
Yeah, the dude, and like, we were talking about this while the match was going on. We know that he is shorter than most. But on TV, he looks like $1 million.
Right.
He's got the opposite thing of Randy Orton going on. Where, like, when you see Randy Orton in person and you see that he's 6'5", 6'6", you're like, holy Jesus, this is a big dude. But on TV, when he's right, you don't really get that too much.
Wait, he's 6'5"?
Yeah,
no.
he's up.
I'm Googling that.
All right, guys, we'll be back in 7 minutes while Ashley Googles Randy Orton's height.
6'5".
Oh, my gosh.
Dang.
Actually, I've masturbated to him.
Can you say that?
I don't know. Don't put that one on YouTube. And I heard it was Jake, our cousin Jake, was talking, and he said, Kenny Omega's the man. You got to push him as a star. And then I've heard people say, like, I get why Jericho is so over right now. I get that. I've heard people say Cody with this story. For me, Pac is the dude.
The dude?
He's the dude. Nobody works like him.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. He's convinced me.
And you can do anything with him. If you wanted to turn him face right now, you could.
So did you go into this match thinking, who did you think would win this match?
I thought Pac would, just because, and I think the world of Adam Page, I really do. I think he's just my moon and stars, really.
See, I thought Hangman would win this match. But let's get into it. They start off outside the ring with Hangman aggressively slamming Pac into the barricades, really, intensely, not holding back. The crowd is chanting, "Cowboy shit! Cowboy shit!" There was one move where Pac did a brainbuster to Adam Page on a chair outside the ring, and it looked nasty.
Yeah, there was a huge welt on Page's back for the rest of the match. And the first match and this match showed you that they work hard during these pay-per-views. This was worth watching if you get the opportunity to.
Oh, definitely. Even if it's like a month from now, you should still go back and watch this pay-per-view. That's how good it was. It's not just it was good, but we'll forget about it. No. This was way better than All Out.
Yeah.
Way better than...
It's just weird after years of WWE where, like, you just kind of feel like their pay-per-views are an extra show that they do once a month.
Yeah.
And it doesn't feel huge. And on this, it just felt different than...
It was just so good.
Yeah, like you saw everybody putting out more. I will say this. I'll bring that up after we get finished with this match. Well, I probably will. So I asked you, probably in this match, what are you missing? I said, what are you missing from this? And I said, something's missing. and you couldn't figure it out. But unfortunately, no Tony Schiavone in the booth, and I missed it.
I already forgot what was missing.
Right.
You just said that.
Well, it was,
Tony Schiavone, yeah.
It was an hour and a half ago, which is
I
a long
love
time
him.
for you. Yeah, he's not going to be at these Saturday shows during football season because of a contract, I believe, with Georgia football, unfortunately for him.
Yeah.
Ugh. But, yeah, so that was kind of a bummer. But anyway.
Adam Page also did a spot where he climbed on the top rope and did a super high fall away slam, and then Pac landed
Is
basically.
it X-Pac or X-Pac?
Oh yeah, X-Pac heat.
X-Pac heat.
So he landed basically on the opposite side of the ring with super high impact. So that was a cool spot they did.
So I'd never seen this before, I don't think.
What?
This spot. I don't think I've ever seen it.
I mean, not that intense.
I don't think I've ever seen it.
I feel like I have.
So the Razor Ramon fall away slam, but on the top rope, and they started with both men's feet on the rope. So Pac had to jump, turn. Page had to catch him.
Maybe not.
Keep his feeding, throw him backwards, and everybody had to land safe. It was crazy.
So Pac also got Adam Page into the brutalizer, and Page's face legitimately looked like it was about to turn purple at one point. Then Hangman eventually hit Pac with a deadeye to pick up the win. So I was right.
What was cool about the brutalizer too is that he sunk it in from the deadeye position.
Sorry,
so
guys.
Page was going for the deadeye, and Pac turned it into the brutalizer, which was pretty dope.
After the match, I noticed Hangman had tweeted not satisfied. So do you think he wasn't satisfied with the match, or is he just kind of like adding to the feud or his storyline, or do you think he was legit not happy with the match?
I don't know what that meant.
I know.
I really don't.
I don't know either. So I think overall I would give this match a 7.5 out of 10.
I'm right there with you.
Shawn Spears comes out in a No More Garbage Wrestling t-shirt. I loved it.
Yeah, especially because I didn't even know about this match, to be honest.
Yeah, me
I guess I
either.
just missed it, or
No,
it just wasn't.
I don't know. They might have like mentioned it once, but it wasn't hyped.
It got hyped on AEW Dark and a little vignette they did, but yeah, I don't know how I feel about Joey Janela.
I don't know either.
I get the appeal. By the way, Shawn Spears comes out. We find out he's taking on Joey Janela. I get the appeal. I get the look. I get the gimmick, but I just don't know if it's working for me.
I mean, I don't know. I feel like it's a generic, happy, cool-looking, like.
I mean, it's
babyface.
It's vicey, like that Vice style, and it's retro. But I don't believe him when he's like, "I'm a bad boy," and he's smoking his cigarettes. When I see him, I'm just kind of like, he's a little too chumpy for it. I feel like he needs something.
Seen that.
I feel like he needs someone with him almost.
So, what do you think about Shawn Spears? AKA. What was his name? 10?
Yes.
Damn.
Yes. His name was 10.
No. What was his
10.
name? Dude, why am I drawing a blank?
The Tin Man.
10. Ty Dillinger.
There you go.
Woo.
There you go. The Tin Man.
Ty Dillinger. What do you think about him?
When they first announced that he was coming on and they did a promo, Cody Rhodes said, "He's a good hand." And that's what started their match a few months ago. I
forgot all about that.
Shawn Spears got this information. He was really pissed off about it. Hit Cody in the back of the head with a chair. But that is exactly what he is. He's a good hand. And he's perfect, for the third match of the night on a card like this.
Is that a compliment or a shade?
He's getting a paycheck.
True. Yeah, I forgot all about that little beef they had, or whatever you can call it. So they did one spot where Shawn Spears tied up Janela's hair into the turnbuckles, and I don't think I've ever seen that done before.
Me either.
Yeah.
And it's just so cool to see all this stuff that you've never seen before.
But
and
it could be so obvious.
Right.
To
And
do.
then to think that these guys are just a bunch of wrestlers in the back talking. There's no writers. There's no, team of people coming up with this stuff. It's just a couple old farts and a couple young tarts doing the damn thing.
So Shawn ends up putting Janela into a beautiful sharpshooter.
Looking tight.
Yeah. Tully Blanchard got involved, and Shawn Spears wins the match.
That's
now,
pretty much all you need to know.
Can you
about
tell
that.
the listeners your joke about Tully Blanchard earlier?
Yeah. Tully's got to pick it up on the outfit game, man. He looked like he went to church in a polo and found out he was the usher that day. And he was just like, oh, shit. Well, I got a jacket in the car. Give me a second. Because it was just like this.
That's funny because he reminds me of the ushers that used to usher at our church.
Oh, yeah. They just would all have this, like, light blue, this dark blue polo or jacket, sports coat that they would just, like, throw on whatever polo they were wearing that day.
Yeah.
But yeah, bless his heart.
Next, we're gonna talk about the tag team championship match with SCU defending against the Lucha Bros and Private Party. And on Dynamite this past week, Private Party defeated Dark Order to get the title shot, just in case you weren't caught up on that. But, so Jared, talk about this match, because I can't lie, I was kind of distracted during this. I didn't pay close attention.
But yeah, so this was a little more spot festy, and it was fine because there's a lot of guys in there that can work. SCU's kind of...
Boring?
No.
They remind me of the Revival, kind of like that old school feel.
You are going to lose so many battles if you try to start it with
when we go
people
over
that they don't like the Revival.
When we go over SmackDown, I have a whole thing on the Revival that people, I guess listeners, are not going to like what I have to say about the Revival.
You're going to get handwritten letters, bitch, and you deserve it. So yeah, the Lucha Brothers, and I'm for real when I say this, I think both of them could be single stars. Mm-hmm. Phoenix literally defies physics.
Oh, I know.
He just bounces around like gravity does not apply to him, and he
on the ropes.
sticks. He's like Superman. Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm.
So, couple different transitions into the team's double team finishers, if you will. SCU gets the win. They're celebrating for just a little bit. Lucha Party ain't very happy.
Lucha Party.
Lucha.
That's WWE.
Cut that out because I don't even want to disrespect them. Lucha Brothers ain't very happy. They jump in, they attack, and the lights cut out. And when the lights cut back on...
Oh, yeah. Okay, I saw this part.
There's a man standing in the ring, dressed just like Pentagon, miming his movements, and then you find out after a brief tussle that it is Christopher Daniels. And I had to ask this question: if you're staying kayfabe only, kayfabe life, why was Christopher Daniels just dressed like that dude that day?
Because I'm gonna try to defend this.
Okay.
He was dressed like that because he had every intention of coming out after the match, regardless of the outcome, to kind of toy with the Lucha Bros. And then, the big reveal is that it's Christopher Daniels.
It's me, Austin.
It was me all along.
Yeah, it was good.
That's my only defense.
It was a good match. It reminded me of the old TNA matches in their tag team division when that was what their bread and butter was. So I enjoyed it.
Next, we see Sakura. Sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong, guys. Sakura take on Riho for the... I don't know if it's
security. Somebody get the security.
Shakira.
I think it's Sakura.
Or Sakura.
You're saying it too fast.
Sakura. She takes on Riho for the women's championship, and this is your good old-fashioned student versus teacher because she used to train Riho. It looked like in the beginning Sakura.
I would just figure whichever you want to go with.
We're going with Sakura.
All right, hit it.
Sakura was crying at the beginning, and I guess she was just so overcome with emotion because of her training Riho, and now here they are in AEW fighting for a title match.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty dope, right?
That is pretty dope.
Yeah, so you're training this girl who starts out at like 10 years old, and here she is 12 years later, and you and her are in America with the number 2 company in America at a pay-per-view.
Pretty cool. I'm going to be honest, I wasn't expecting much from this match. Not to say these two women aren't extremely talented or anything. It's just after a stacked card, basically this match was my least anticipated. So
I think it won you over a little bit.
It did, because I really enjoyed the emotional aspect of it, which made me want to tune in and like pay close attention to it. And I really enjoyed it, and I was more into it than I thought I would be. Honestly, I would give it like an 8 out of 10.
Yeah, and pretty cool note, Sakura came out dressed as Freddie Mercury.
Yes.
Which was pretty neat. And did the...
Yeah, we will rock you.
And did the... Ew, while doing a surfboard, a la Daniel Bryan style, and it was pretty slick looking. So she did. I don't know if she'll be used a lot more, but if they were like, "Hey, we got one story for you," she killed the one story. Like she did her job for this.
Totally. Next, we have the AEW, the heavily anticipated AEW Championship match with Cody taking on Jericho. Now, I want to kind of talk about Dynamite and Cody's promo from this past Dynamite. Okay, it was awesome. One of the best wrestling promos I've seen in a very long time. It was about 7 minutes. It captivated me, held my attention the entire time. He just pours his emotions into this promo and talks about how it took him 14 years going from undesirable to undeniable. And I had goosebumps during this.
Yeah, I mean, the best stories are real life. And he just spoke his heart. And while he was doing that, still cut a really good promo on Jericho all the while. But, yeah, I mean, there's nothing that can be said that hasn't been said on probably like every other outlet that covers sports entertainment and wrestling. But if you haven't seen it,
YouTube it.
Find a way.
Yeah. He also teases a match.
Second best promo of the night.
Of Dynamite?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. We'll get there. He kind of teases a match with the Elite versus the Inner Circle, which I can't wait for. I mean, that's going to be a really cool feud. We'll get to that later. We're not going to spoil it yet. He says if he doesn't defeat Jericho at Full Gear, he will never challenge for the title. Excuse me. He will never challenge for the title again. Also, The Rock gave Cody props on his promo, so if you get approval from The Rock, then...
Could you imagine hitting your mentions and The Rock's name shows up?
Right?
Oh my God.
I
wouldn't even read it.
I know.
I'd laminate my phone.
Okay, so I know you would rather talk about this, the vignette with Jericho.
Yeah.
From Dynamite.
The Cody work was great, and it got the crowd behind him, but there's just something about these vignettes that get me going. But yeah, and again, if you've listened to any kind of podcast or anything that's covered wrestling this week, you've already heard about this. And again, if you haven't seen it, go see it. But this, to me, was the reason that I feel like I think AEW's... And for me, it's easy. It's my number one show. But it's why I think they're the number one show every week. You're either entertained or you're cracking up because of something that somebody... Like, with Jericho right now, you're either locked in, laser focused on what he said, or you're cracking up at what he said. I have never watched a month of wrestling like I have this month, because obviously we're doing this now and we've got to watch the majority of the stuff.
Right.
It has been so easy to watch AEW, and that vignette was part of the reason why.
So back to Full Gear. Jericho comes out with Jake Hager and Cody comes out with MJF. So I want to discuss two things I was thinking before the match. Kind of a prediction. A, I thought either MJF turns on Cody and costs him the match, or B, the match would go to 60 minutes and two of the judges choose Jericho over Cody, so that maybe in the future Cody could try to spin that and say that, you know, something else had cost him the title and he didn't technically lose the title. But anyway, we also find out that it is Jericho's 49th birthday, which makes me feel old. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, I remember Jericho and Lance Storm's tag team back in the Gap.
Yeah.
So I'm way older than your Lion Tamer days.
The crowd started to chant "Fuck your birthday," which was cool.
That's pretty good. That same exact thing happened to me at like my 8th birthday at a McDonald's. It was not good.
All right, let's get into the match. So we see Cody take a nasty fall outside the ring, and it caused him to have a really nasty laceration by his eye, and he started bleeding profusely, but he continues on.
So specifically, this was like the Undertaker Shawn Michaels spot where Taker jumps over the top rope and lands on his forehead. But Cody landed on metal.
Yeah, I don't
and
think that was...
And you literally see his head bounce.
Yeah.
It definitely wasn't scripted.
Purposefully.
Yeah. So he literally gashes his eye open off of this metal grate that's on the walkway. And if you listen to it, you can hear him say, like, tell the doctor, like, don't you stop this, even if your life depends on it.
Yeah.
And he's telling the referee, like, no, and they're trying to figure it all out. And the match itself was good. I think I told you from what it looked like, the story they were going to tell was that from that Cody had injured his ribs, and they still worked on the midsection, and then you could hear JR saying stuff like, oh, he's having trouble breathing. And they kept working the midsection. But what made this match even better was the gash on his head and just Jericho's, just knowing how to work that and how to sell that. And you can tell that they I don't think they changed much, but they changed a little. And I think the match was better for Cody crashing and burning and cutting his forehead wide open.
Me too. Yeah, I think that was one of the most exciting parts of the match. Also, there was a part in the match that Cody's mom said "fuck you" to Jericho and slapped him on the head.
Which also happened to be at a McDonald's birthday party.
That was that was my fave. The referee threw Jake Hager to the back for hitting Cody Rhodes. Then he started to attack MJF.
Oh, so the Jericho vignette that we were talking about earlier was all him throwing shade at Cody for Cody's vignette a few weeks ago. Cody's laying in the tub. Jericho's sitting in a hotel room tub with his clothes on, spitting water bottles. He finds... So Cody always wears the weight belt, and Jericho mimics him once again and wears the weight belt just to be a dick.
What'd it say?
La Champion.
Cute little touch.
La Champion.
Cute.
Oui, oui.
Jericho actually started whipping Cody with his weight belt at one point, and he hit him pretty hard.
Yeah, not like Hogan used to do with his belt, and he could barely move. And it just would kind of bend over. And he was beating the shit out of him.
He ends up getting Cody into the Lion Tamer, and he had a really nasty torque on Cody. It looked really painful, actually.
He was getting in there with it for sure. Cody was getting stretched.
Yeah. So this is the part where I was right. Let's get into it, shall we?
Schwaz.
MJF ends up throwing in the towel and Cody loses. So, okay, I like this ending a lot because it was not expected. MJF didn't directly turn on Cody at first, you thought anyway, but he threw in the towel on his behalf, which makes you think something could be up. You know, like maybe he's in cahoots with the Inner Circle. But you wouldn't have expected that because Jake Hager had attacked him. So anyway, afterwards, Inner Circle comes out to celebrate with champagne as Cody is in the middle of the ring with MJF saying how he didn't tap and asking what happened. MJF apologizes on his knees as the crowd chants,
"You fucked up."
MJF then low blows Cody, and yeah, I called this shit before the match even started.
Let me take you back a few weeks ago to Hell in a Cell. And
Hell in a Cell.
yeah, Hell in a Cell. Remember that? Red lights.
Yeah.
All right. Schmozzy finish. And we
Okay.
knew it was going to be a schmozzy finish because it had to be. All right. Not well received ending, right?
Right.
Fast forward now. Kind of a schmozzy ending because of the stipulation that was made. And then you knew that Cody wasn't going to win the belt right away. You knew they weren't going to drop Jericho right away. It wouldn't make any sense. So you knew schmoz was coming. But what they did at the end of this was the reason for the schmoz turns nuclear heel and gets heat, and you can't be mad at it.
Okay, you're speaking in like weird ass terms. Like, what is a schmoz?
Schmoz meaning like you know something funky's up. Like it's not going to be just a clean finish. Something.
Well, yeah, that's what I mean. I thought MJF would cost him the match,
Right.
but it was cool the way they did it with him kind of throwing in the towel and not just like say.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So even if you're mad at the throwing in the towel,
I wasn't.
but even if you are, doesn't really matter because the guy who threw in the towel doesn't give a damn about
Right,
Cody.
and he don't.
So it's kind of what I'm saying. Like even though they knew we're gonna go in this, and it's gonna be a little funky of a finish, and there's probably gonna be a crowd that doesn't like it. They made it to where that's obsolete. Versus Hell in a Cell, same situation. Everybody hates it. Goes on social media and says "fuck you, WWE." AEW, everybody's going on social media and saying "fuck you, MJF." So
True.
they did a
'cause
great job writing this.
Cody was like really over in this feud as the babyface. So yeah. So this match and segment as a whole, I give it 8.5. I love the way it was executed. I mean,
Just another. We keep using the word refreshing.
but
Just
yeah,
really refreshing going into a main event match and saying, I don't know what's going to happen.
right.
I have no idea.
For the main event, we have Jon Moxley versus Kenny Omega in their Lights Out match. The announcer announces that AEW is not responsible for what happens in this match. And, I mean, I guess looking back, like, you know, you think they're just saying that, you know, whatever. But no, this match was that intense that I think they were scared about, like, maybe social media, people being, you know,
Yeah.
soft on social media.
I mean, if somebody's like eyeball got ripped out, they're
Yeah.
like, look.
Right, and these two guys, like, didn't give a fuck.
We turned the lights out. So
Yeah.
it ain't on us.
Yeah, so this was a match that I was most excited for just because of the build and the way Moxley was pissed about it being non-sanctioned. And then, you know, all the teases with the barbed wire on Dynamite. The vignettes they showed for this feud were really, really good. So, you want to start talking about the match?
I gotta just have one point.
Okay, yeah.
And really because this one's kind of like the tag team match again where it's like, you really need to see it. It's so spot festy and unique and different that what we tell you isn't going to give it justice per se.
Basically, this is like some old school ECW shit.
It was wild.
Yeah.
So this was what I was surprised to hear you say that you were the most excited about this one because it kind of takes me back when I start thinking about like a hardcore match and like a no holds barred scenario. Or unsanctioned even. And I was like, all right, let me compare this to Ciampa, Tommaso Ciampa and Gargano from about a year ago. So that story was years in the making, where with Ciampa and Gargano, to where this story's about 2 months old, 3 months old.
Mm-hmm.
So I wasn't heavily invested in it, but I was totally invested in it afterwards.
Pretty early into the match, Moxley goes and gets weapons underneath the ring. And Jared kept saying this, like, you see those mouse traps?
I swear, every time they picked up the side of the ring, there was like one mouse trap.
And it was like 3 times, and neither time I was paying
Your head
attention.
was down, yeah.
And so he would be like, you see those mouse traps? And yeah.
You'd be like,
I never
no,
saw 'em.
where? And by the time you'd look, they were done. And I was like, I know that's a mouse trap. They teased us a long time with the barbed wire bat versus the barbed wire broom.
Yep.
And they hit each other in the head with barbed wire a lot tonight.
Yeah.
This was, again, we can review it and talk about it.
You have to
But
watch it.
yeah, like, all I can tell you is it seems safe. Like,
I mean,
they took care of one another. Obviously, these things hurt.
it was some of the spots were very tough to watch.
Yeah.
But like entertaining, but like imagine getting barbed wire just dragged on your back.
It was like if the movie Saw was a wrestling match. It was pretty wild. And to me, there was a moment where Kenny goes to the top rope and tries to do like a 450 splash, and lands on the wood in the ring where they pulled back the mat, and it was brutal.
It was brutal. We'll get there. Moxley brings out the barbed wire bat and hits Omega in the back with it, and then we finally see blood. Well, I shouldn't say finally, as if I was anticipating it.
Finally, blood.
Omega ends up hitting Moxley in the head with the barbed wire broom. So, yeah, you were shocked that they did a shot to the head with the barbed wire?
Well, when I saw that, I was like, it must be gimmicked barbed wire, and then I started seeing blood everywhere, and I was like, okay, nope, they're just hitting each other in the head with barbed wire.
Yeah, and then after that was when Omega started brushing the barbed wire broom across the back of John Moxley, and Renee Young had actually tweeted WTF on Twitter. So I'm sure she was watching.
Could you imagine? Like,
no,
yeah.
no.
It was so crazy. Like Mick Foley's wife.
No way.
Back in the day, just
yeah.
like, what a terrible thing to do to your woman.
So it was really intense from the get-go. So that brings me to the mouse traps, like we were saying earlier.
Not the board game.
Yeah,
This
not
is
the
a real
board
deal.
game. Omega ends up getting the table covered in about how many mouse traps?
There
like
was
30?
probably like 30 mouse traps on a 6x4 plywood board.
Yeah, and he puts it in the ring, but Omega ends up getting the brunt of it because Moxley is the one that slams Omega in the mouse trap.
You can just hear this click, click, click.
And like
click.
the JR and
Excalibur.
yeah, JR and Excalibur, I don't even think they were kind of speechless. They weren't really like
JR didn't seem comfortable.
yeah.
He never even said slobber knocker.
Right.
And when he doesn't say slobber knocker, I know he's not comfortable.
Then Ambrose brings out some chains and gives Omega a sidewalk slam on the chains.
I don't think that looked as brutal as I bet
Neither.
it felt. No, but I bet that hurt. Like
Right, you're right. I'm
like
sure.
20 pounds of chain, and you're just jumping on top of it, on your back and on your ribs.
Omega gets a piece of broken glass and he slices Moxley's hand with it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that happened.
And yeah.
Yeah.
Then he breaks a bunch of glass and slams Moxley on top of it.
And-
Shards of glass.
Yeah, so spinebuster into the glass and then drags him.
Drags him through the shards of glass. Oh, man.
And this is a wrestling match, ladies and gentlemen. Not a death bout to get out of jail.
Yeah, so they go back and forth some more in the shards of glass, and they also do a super freaking insane spot where they both land on a board of barbed wire. This spot was crazy.
Let's see. They called it a web of barbed wire.
That's pretty good.
Imagine a 4x4, or no, it's probably like 6x6, like a 6x6 box, and nothing but the inside of it is barbed wire, roped back and forth, across and across and across and across. And they suplexed one another into it and had to get help from people to get out.
That was cringing when they were getting out of the barbed wire. Oh, man. It's severely intense at this point. So next, we have Omega kicking Moxley through some plexiglass. But Moxley got up and Omega was still down. Jared even said he thought someone's going to have to die for the other one to win. Because it's just like they just kept going with all these nasty spots. So finally, Moxley goes and unties the ties from the ring. And he tears the padding from the ring after a bunch of back and forth.
He pulls that padding back and we get a backdrop. And then we get another, the DDT, but from Omega to Moxley. And Moxley kicks out. Omega goes to the top, tries to hit that splash. Hits his head. It looked like he hit his head on the boards. No padding at that point, which is a brutal spot. To jump from the top rope onto the boards seems super painful.
Yeah.
And then to finish it off, Moxley hits the DDT and did the version where he picks him up and slams his head into the ground. And Kenny's probably the best seller in the world. It literally looked like he fell right on the top of his head and just shattered his neck into a million
perfection.
pieces. He is one of the reasons that I kind of got back into wrestling the way I did.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was kind of done with WWE, and I still watch it because we watch it, and there's just like this whole. It's kind of like how people watch the Super Bowl,
right?
And even if you or football, if your favorite team's not playing but you still watch, it's kind of got that appeal to it. But he was one of the reasons like I started watching it again. I was like, oh, the game has changed now, and it hadn't. I had just seen him for the first time, but it was a cool way to close this show out. And after the match, what I liked about it was Moxley sitting in the corner just pulling this old, like early 97 Stone Cold, where he's not super over yet, but the camera's in his face getting this, his zoom in, and he's just cussing. He's like, fucking, what am I, number 5 now? What am I, 4? Oh, wait, this match doesn't fucking count. Doesn't even matter. And I was like so into it when how they closed this show out with that.
Yeah, this match got a 10 out of 10 for me. And you better not give them anything less, Jared. They put their bodies and souls on the line.
Their souls, indeed.
Yeah.
No, it was really good. And like I told you, not my favorite kind of match, but yeah, it was like a 9.
Why is it not your favorite kind of match?
Why is a hardcore match?
Closer.
You remember a few weeks ago when Jake was talking to us on the podcast and he was like, what I like about Marvel rules, or Marvel movies, is they set these rules.
Yeah.
I like those rules. I feel like if you use those rules correctly, it can tell a better story. This is simply an episode of Jackass. This kind of match.
Oh my gosh.
Is it not?
But they had a feud.
But they did, and this was what their feud. And this is what I was telling you a minute ago with like Gargano and Ciampa, how I felt like as far as a feud goes, that was better, but as far as a match goes, this was better. But their feud was debut, ruin Omega's moment. Omega comes back, and the glass table, and then a couple times they got in each other's face, and that was it. And I get the feud, like I understand everything, but for a month it was fine.
You wanted more.
Yeah. And I think we'll probably get it.
I guess I get what you're saying, because that match we just saw in Full Gear, you can't go bigger than that. So that's the payoff, essentially.
That's it, right? You're not
like, I feel like you can't really continue. You're not going to top this match, basically. That's why I give it a 10 out of 10.
Well, what'll be interesting is now, and so that match doesn't count. And what will be interesting is if Omega came back and was like, "Okay, we played your game, now beat me at my terms."
Oh yeah.
So there's
right.
a ton of things
that's
they can do.
good shit. You need to write for this shit.
I really should.
I like that. If he came back and was like, "All right,
Cody, if you're
I went
listening.
insane. I went
Yeah, you won this one. And
psycho for you.
I walked into your world and you beat me. Now walk into mine and
Wrestle.
see what you can do. Yeah, beat the best wrestler in the world at wrestling.
Dude. Ooh, imagine that. Right. You win the night for that.
Yes.
You don't have to give it. What do you rate the show overall?
So 10 being perfect. What number would be?
I mean,
what number would be? You really need to see this.
9.
Then a 9.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Like, I highly recommend this.
Yeah. If you enjoy it, then you'll enjoy this.
And I mean, not even just because it's relevant right now. Like, you would probably enjoy this if it's a month from now and you go back and watch this pay-per-view.
Yeah, and now this is the bummer. And here, let me get your take on this. What's your take on the Saturday night versus Sunday?
Well, it's easier to make a podcast.
I like it. I
mean,
feel like
yeah,
I
don't mind it.
I feel like my Monday doesn't start tomorrow, so it's
Right.
like, yeah.
Yeah.
So I dig that.
Yeah, I like it too.
Now, I don't know how many pay-per-views they're going to have, but let's say they have like 4 big ones, 4 big ones a year, right? Would you rather pay $200 a year for their 4 big pay-per-views or $120 a year for the WWE network?
That's a good question. You get a lot of content on the network, buddy.
You do. That's what I'm saying. Like, but you're not doing it for that's all you're doing it for. I could miss every show but Mania and Rumble and be fine.
Yeah. I guess it just depends on if you're like a real wrestling fan or if you're just like a sports entertainment fan.
Yeah. And so I don't know what they're going to do with the replay system. Unfortunately, to watch this, you may have to go to your pay-per-view provider and it still be $50, which would suck.
I feel like
really
people
hope,
I'm sorry.
it may be out on the internet somewhere you can find it.
Yeah.
I really hope AEW does a thing where the Monday or the Wednesday after their pay-per-view, they sell the replay for like $12.
Yeah, that would be good. That would be smart.
If you want to watch it live with the world, it's $50. And I get that. Like, it costs a lot of money to run these shows. But I don't think anybody's going to pay $50 to rewatch this in 2 weeks. So go ahead and cut the price a ton and let more viewers see it.
Yeah.
Because I guarantee you I could show somebody this that's never seen AEW before, and they'd be a fan.
So next week we will be, on our regularly scheduled programming, discussing Raw, SmackDown, NXT, as well as next week's Dynamite episode.
Dynamite!
But tonight we just kind of wanted to go over Full Gear since it's relevant and fresh.
To be honest, we just wanted to watch it and figured it'd be good to talk about afterwards.
Yeah.
We need an excuse.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we will talk to you guys next week.